अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह वकफ़ा वस्सलातु वस्सलामु अला इबादिहिल्लज़ीना इस्तफ़ा खुसूसन अला अफ़ज़लिहिम व ख़ातमिन नबिय्यीन मुहम्मदिनिल अमीन व अला आलिहि व सहबिहि अजमईन। अम्मा बाद फ़क़द क़ाल अल्लाहु तबारक व तआला कमा वरद फ़ी सूरतिल अन्कबूत अऊज़ु बिल्लाहि मिनश शैतानिर रजीम बिस्मिल्लाहिर रहमानिर रहीम। अलिफ लाम मीम अहसिबन नासु अन युत्रकू अन यक़ूलू आमन्ना वहुम ला युफ्तनून वलक़द फ़तन्ना अल्लज़ीना मिन क़ब्लिहिम फ़लयअलमन्ना अल्लाहु अल्लज़ीना सदक़ू वलयअलमन्ना अल-काज़िबीन। इला क़ौलिही तआला वलयअलमन्ना अल्लाहु अल्लज़ीना आमनू वलयअलमन्ना अल-मुनाफ़िक़ीन। वक़ाल तबारक व तआला कमा वरद फ़ी सूरति तौबा क़ुल इन कान आबाउकुम व अब्नाउकुम व इख़वानुकुम व अज़वाजुकुम व अशीरतुकुम व अम्वालुन इक़्तरफ़्तुमूहा व तिजारतुन तख़शौन कसादहा व मसाकिन तर्दौनहा अहब्ब इलैकुम मिनल्लाहि व रसूलिही व जिहादिन फ़ी सबीलिही फ़तरब्बसू हत्ता यअतियल्लाहु बिअम्रिही वल्लाहु ला यहदिल क़ौमल फ़ासिक़ीन। सदक़ल्लाहुल अज़ीम। रब्बि इश्रह ली सदरी व यस्सिर ली अमरी वहलुल उक़दतम मिन लिसानी यफ़क़हू क़ौली। अल्लाहुम्मा रब्बना अल्हिमना रुश्दना व अइज़ना मिन शुरूरि अनफुसिना। अल्लाहुम्मा तह्हिर क़ुलूबना मिनन निफ़ाक़ व अअमालना मिनर रिया व अल्सिनतना मिनल कज़िब व अयुनना मिनल ख़ियानह फ़इन्नक तअलमु ख़ाइनतल अयुन व मा तुख़फ़िस सुदूर। आमीन या रब्बल आलमीन। If we review briefly, in the previous session we had discussed the definition of a munafiq. A munafiq is a person who claims to be a mu'min and a Muslim, and actually he is not a mu'min. This is a disease, fi qulubihim maradun fazadahumullahu marada. Diseased personality, diseased psychology, abnormal psychology. And the prognosis is very grave. The munafiqeen were declared that the istighfar of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is also not beneficial to them. Istaghfir lahum aw la tastaghfir lahum. In tastaghfir lahum 70 marratan falan yaghfir Allahu lahum. And Quran says clearly that the lowest part of Jahannam, the most severest punishment, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has reserved for these munafiqeen. Innal munafiqeen fi ad-darki al-asfali min an-nar. Then three misconceptions. Number one, that Nifaq was confined to the days and times of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam only. It's partially true, because only he could declare any person munafiq, because he knew it from wahi, what is the internal condition of a person. But we know it, that he didn't declare any person munafiq. He told Hazrat Huzaifa radiyallahu ta'ala anhu names of some of the munafiqeen, but he told him to keep it a secret. Secondly, if we think that we are absolutely safe, this disease cannot attack us, then we are wrong. As I have narrated to you, the call of Hazrat Umar radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, and the call of Hazrat Hanzala radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, and the call of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, ma aminahu illa munafiqun wa ma khafahu illa mu'minun. Then we discussed, this is from nafaqun wa nafaqa. Nafaqun is the tunnel which has two mouths, two openings. Nafaqa is also the hole which Wab, which is a lizard, it digs underground for living, but it keeps two doors or two openings, so that if there's danger from one side, it can run from the other side. So what is the underlying principle of this nafaqun wa nafaqa? That is safety, to save yourself. And let me quote here the couplet, very mashhur, very famous couplet of Allama Iqbal. Tu bacha bacha ke na rakhi se tera aina hai wo aina ki shikasta ho to aziz tar hai nigahe aina saaz mein. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants that you spend everything. The mutilated body of Hazrat Hamza raziyallahu ta'ala anhu nose chopped off, or the ears, they chopped off, and the abdomen opened, and the liver that was chewed, that was much dearer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala than the body, living body. Because he bore all these things, and he sacrificed himself for the cause of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Aziz tar hai nigah-e aina saaz mein, ki shikasta ho to aziz tar hai nigah-e aina saaz mein. If you spend everything, and if you are martyred, and there is the saying of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the vadittu an uqtala fi sabilillah, summa ahuya, summa uqtala, summa ahuya. I very much love that I should be killed in the cause of Allah, in the way of Allah. Then I should be resurrected, and then again I should have the taste of shahada fi sabilillah. I should again be killed. This is what I love. This is my longing, But because he was Rasul, and it's the rule of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that a messenger of Allah could not be killed. The Anbiya could be killed. Now I don't want to go into detail of this discussion. There is a difference between Nabi and Rasul, and one of the points is the same, which I have just mentioned now. Then we had classification. Nifaq fil aqidah, Nifaq fil amal. This is the classical classification of the ulama. But to make it more intelligible for the modern educated people, the terms are, I think, more useful, that conscious nifaq and unconscious nifaq. Conscious nifaq, when the person himself knows that I have not accepted Islam, it's only for some purpose that I am declare myself to be a Muslim. For spying in a Muslim country, or as I gave you the example that the Jews of Medina, they had the conspiracy. You declare yourself Muslims in the morning, and then you become murtad in the evening. So that the goodwill that Islam enjoys, the sark of Iman, it should be lost. It should be injured. So actually that was, they entered Islam with kufr, and they went out of Islam with kufr. I have given you the ayah, وَقَدْ دَخَلُوا بِالْكُفْرِ وَقَدْ خَرَجُوا بِهِ. So this is conscious nifaq. But most of the munafiqeen of the days of the Prophet were not belonging to this category. I think, it's my personal opinion, Abdullah ibn Ubay belonged to this category, but not many of them. Most of the munafiqeen of the days of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam belong to the second category. What is that second category? They accepted Iman sincerely, but because their willpower was not strong enough, their determination was not strong enough, when they were called to make jihad for the cause of Allah, to sacrifice their life for the cause of Allah, to spend for the cause of Allah. Now this love of life, love of this world, love of wealth, love of the relatives, love of wives and the families, these things, they were pulling them back from jihad and from infaq fi sabilillah. So they were actually oscillating between these two things. To explain this, I have now, recited the ayat from Surah Al-Ankabut. Alif Lam Mim, ahasib al-nas wa yutraku wa yaqulu amanna wa hum la yuftanun. Did the people think that they will be saved only by saying that we have become mu'min, and we will not test them? We have to test whether they have become mu'min really or not. Do they mean it or not? فَلَيَعْلَمَنَّ اللَّهُ الَّذِينَ صَدَقُوا وَلَقَدْ فَتَنَّ الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِهِمْ. It has been our practice throughout. Whosoever declared himself to be a mu'min, we tested him. We made him pass through tests and tribulations. And this is our rule. فَلَيَعْلَمَنَّ اللَّهُ الَّذِينَ صَدَقُوا وَلَيَعْلَمَنَّ الْكَاذِبِينَ. Allah will differentiate between those who are true in their claim of Iman and those who are making it superficially and falsely. And after some ayat, a few ayat, and this thing is more explained clearly. وَلَيَعْلَمَنَّ اللَّهُ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَلَيَعْلَمَنَّ الْمُنَافِقِينَ. Allah will make it clear who are real mu'mins and who are munafiqs. This word munafiq in the whole of the Makki Quran occurs only in this surah. I told you 2/3 of the Quran is Makki. But throughout this Quran, all the Makki surahs, no mention of nifaq except this ayah. This is in the first section of Surah Al-Ankabut. And this is, what was this nifaq? Because people embraced Islam, but when they were persecuted for the cause of Allah, in the name of Allah, there were some people who were shaking. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala warned them that if your courage gives way, then if your determination fails, it will mean that you will become munafiq. So it was forewarning to those people. You have to bear this with courage and steadfastness. Have sabr. Isbiru ya ala yasir, fa inna maw'idakumul jannah. Now the second ayah I have just recited. I recited that ayah in my discussion about Iman also, because this is also one of the most profound ayat of the Quran. This is ayah number 24 of Surah At-Tawbah. Qul, tell them, O Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, in kana abaukum wa abnaukum wa azwajukum wa ikhwanukum wa ashiratukum wa amwalun iqtaraftumuha wa tijaratun takhshawna kasadaha wa masakinu tardawnaha ahabba ilaykum min Allahi wa rasulihi wa jihadin fi sabilihi fatarabbasu hatta yati Allahu bi amri wallahu la yahdi al-qawm al-fasiqin. Very profound ayah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has, enumerated 8 things which man usually loves in this world. They are relations, the close relations. Tell them, if your fathers, if your sons, if your brothers, if your wives, if your relatives, 5 closest relations, then 3 forms of wealth and belongings. وَأَمْوَالٌ اقْتَرَفْتُمُوهَا وَتِجَارَةٌ تَخْشَوْنَ كَسَادَهَا, and the trade about which you have fear lest there should be some recession in the market and in the trade, kasad. وَمَسَاكِنُ تَرْضَوْنَهَا, and your dwellings which you very much love, you have decorated them with decoration pieces, very costly, and very costly furniture you have gathered over there. These 8 things, if they are more close to your heart, you love them more than 3 things. And what are those 3 things? أَحَبَّ إِلَيْكُم مِّنَ اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ وَجِهَادٍ فِي سَبِيلِهِ. If you love these 8 things more than Allah and His Messenger and the jihad for the cause of Allah, فَتَرَبَّسُوا, then go away. Wait there. حَتَّى يَأْتِيَ اللَّهُ بِأَمْرِهِ, until Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala declares His judgment. وَاللَّهُ لَا يَهْدِي الْقَوْمَ الْفَاسِقِينَ, and Allah is not going to lead such people to the right path. He is not going to guide them to success. So this is very important ayah. Everybody should have and visualize there is a balance within us. On one side of the balance you put love for 8 things. For your fathers, for your sons, for your brothers, for your wives, for your relatives. 3 more for the wealth that you have accumulated. For your business, for your profession, you have established it. For your dwellings, your houses, and you have decorated them. 8 things on one side, the love for these 8 things. And on the other side of the balance, put the love for Allah, love for His Messenger, love for jihad fi sabilillah. Now see which side is heavier. If this side is heavier, go away. We don't want to talk to you. فَتَرَبَّسُوا حَتَّى يَأْتِيَ اللَّهُ بِأَمْرِهِ. We shall declare our judgment. You just wait there. And Allah is not going to guide such people. But if this side is heavier, love for Allah, love for His Messenger, love for jihad fi sabilillah, then there is congratulations, then there is bashara. It is iman, it is real iman. Then you will be rewarded the day of judgment. So this is the crucial point. At this point, a person who has not made a firm resolve, he has not decided and he has not fixed his priorities. This is priority number 1. Deen and jihad for deen. This is priority number 1. All the other things are priorities later on, secondary or tertiary priorities. And let me quote a couplet from Allama Iqbal. He has explained these 8 things in 2 words. ये मालो दौलत दुनिया, ये रिश्ता ओ पैबंद, बुतान वहम गुमा ला इलाहा इल्लल्लाह. मालो दौलत दुनिया, अमवाल इख्तरफ्तुमूहा व तिजारतुन तखशौना कसादहा व मसाकिन तर्दौनहा. रिश्ता ओ पैबंद, और इन कान आबाउकुम व अबनाउकुम व इख्वानुकुम व अज़वाजुकुम व अशीरतुकुम. These are the things which tie chains to our legs. We can't walk, we can't go forward for the cause of Allah, for the jihad fi sabilillah. And this is the basis of Nifaq. Now please let me give you what are the 3 stages of Nifaq. The first stage, rather I should say pre-Nifaq stage. It's not Nifaq, it is pre-Nifaq stage. What is it? We should call it Iman is weak Iman. What is it? When there is a call for the cause of Allah, spend for the cause of Allah. Anfiqu fi sabilillah. There is a call to go to war for the cause of Allah. Now you are trembling. You don't want to go. So you are making, some excuses. But you accept your fault. You accept, I was wrong. You accept your weakness. So long as you are accepting the weakness and you go to the Prophet, oh Prophet of Allah, oh Messenger of Allah, you pray for istighfar for me from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is only weak Iman, not Nifaq. There is Zaif Mu'min, there is Qawi Mu'min. Al-Mu'min al-Qawiyyu khairu min al-Mu'min al-Zaif. Qawi, strong. Strong in body, strong in determination. And weak in body, weak in determination. What is determination? It is the inner personality of a person. This is the outer personality, strength of muscles and strength of body. And then you have the inner personality, and that is determination. Strong in body, strong in determination. This is Mu'min al-Qawi. Mu'min al-Zaif. Failed at times. وَآخَرُونَ خَلَطُوا عَمَلًا صَالِحًا وَآخَرَ سَيِّئًا. They do some good deeds also, but there are faults also, but they accept their faults. They go and ask the forgiveness of the Prophet, as well as they request him to make istighfar for them to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If this is the position, this is not nifaq. This is only a pre-nifaq condition. Zoful Iman. Iman is da'if. But now you cross the line. You start making lame excuses. Oh, Prophet of Allah, I wanted to go with you. I had all the intentions to go with you, but this thing has happened. My wife has fallen sick, and there's nobody else to look after her. This has happened, and that has happened. Now you are making lame excuses, to the extent that you are telling lies. When you start telling lies, it becomes nifaq. That is why everywhere about munafiqeen, the first thing you will find in hadith as well as Quran, kizb. وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَنْ يَقُولُ آمَنَّا بِاللَّهِ وَبِالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ وَمَا هُمْ بِمُؤْمِنِينَ يخادعون الله والذين آمنوا وما يخدعون إلا أنفسهم وما يشعرون في قلوبهم مرض فزادهم الله مرضا ولهم عذاب أليم بما كانوا يكذبون. كذب. إذا جاءك المنافقون قالوا نشهد إنك لرسول الله والله يعلم إنك لرسوله والله يشهد إن المنافقين لكاذبون. So actually, kizb is the beginning. And I narrated the ahadith, salasun. Ayatul Munafiq is salasun. Iza haddatha kadhiba. And there are four things. If all the four things are present in a person, he is 100% munafiq. And the first is iza haddatha kadhiba. So when you start making lame excuses, telling lies, to get yourself exempted from, the call for sacrifice, this nifaq has started. But just like the 3 stages of TB, this is only the first stage of TB. First stage of nifaq. The second stage is when after some time they felt, the munafiqeen, that now people are not trusting us. We have made lame excuses so many times that now we are, losing the confidence of the people. And they smile. When we say, this thing has happened, I wanted to go with you, O Messenger of Allah. I wanted to donate, but at this time I don't have any money. I don't have any wealth with me, which I would have donated. So now other people are smiling. They knew that they know us now, that we are telling a lie. Then they started, swearing in Allah. Yahlifuna billah. By God, billahi, wallahi. I am saying true, it's correct. That is the subject matter of the second ayah of Surah Al-Munafiqun. اتخذوا أيمانهم جنة فصدوا عن سبيل الله. They have taken their qasms, their swearings, they have taken them as junnatun. Junna is, what is dhal? Shield. They use it as shield to protect themselves from the questioning of the Prophet, of the Sahaba, and they want to be exempted from the call for infaq, the call for going to the battlefield for the cause of Allah. So this is the second stage. Now when time passed and they felt now this qasm is also not being believed and people are laughing at us, then they had the enmity within them of the Rasul, of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, as well as the true mu'mineen. Humul aduwwu fahzarhum, qatalahumullahu anna yufakun. They are the real enemies. Why? They felt it. Whenever there is a call, these whom they called, that is in the Surah Al-Baqarah, second 2, Anomenu kama amana sufaha, these are fools. They don't look to their interests. They are ready to lay down their lives every time. They sacrifice everything. They are fools. When it was said to them, you should also believe like the others have believed. Don't you see Abu Bakr? Don't you see Umar? Don't you see Hamza? Don't you see Sa'd ibn Mu'az? Don't you see these people? So you should also behave in that way. So what did they say? وَإِذَا قِيلَ لَهُمْ آمِنُوا كَمَا آمَنَ النَّاسُ قَالُوا وَنُؤْمِنُوا كَمَا آمَنَ السُّفَهَاءُ. They are fools. They are fanatics. They don't think about themselves. They don't think about their families. They don't think about the future of their sons and daughters. They have become totally blind to these worldly considerations. We are not going to become as fool as these are. So that was the enmity. When they respond to every call positively, when we become apparent, if all had resisted the call, none had moved, all would have been equal. But there are people, whenever there is a call, they respond, they go. And let me quote here the couplet from Faiz. वापस नहीं फेरा कोई फरमान जुनू का, तन्हा नहीं लौटी कभी आवाज जरस की, खैरियत जान राहत तन सेहत दामा, सब भूल गई मसलहत अहले हवस. Wherever there was a call, we responded to it as if a bell is ringing, and we were going with the resounding of the bell. We are going with the same voice. We are going with it, and it had been the practice of the Sahaba Kiram. So in that way, these munafiqs, they became apparent that they are cowards, they are munafiqs. So they had now the enmity within their hearts of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and the true mu'mins. And this is the final and the third stage of nifaq. This is the point of no return. اتخذوا أيمانهم جنة فصدوا عن سبيل الله إنهم ساء ما كانوا يعملون ذلك بأنهم آمنوا ثم كفروا فطبع على قلوبهم. Now a seal has been fixed on their hearts. A seal has been fixed on their hearts. Now they don't have the real understanding. So they have actually become kafir after become mu'mins. They tasted iman. They had iman sincerely. But because of this weak determination, not a full resolve to make jihad for the cause of Allah and to sacrifice everything that they have, this made them retrace their steps one by one. They are returning back to kufr, but not legal kufr. Here let me give you an example. If there is a wooden frame of doors, as we have in Indo-Pakistan subcontinents, and the termite is eating away the wood, you must have seen that the frame becomes hollow, but a veneer remains. This termite, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given it also the intelligence that if people will know that we are eating away this wood, they will take some steps to eliminate us. So they leave the veneer intact. The whole wood has been eaten. It has become hollow, but the veneer is there intact. You can't see from without that it has become hollow. This is the case of this nifaq. The legal cover remains there till the last. Even Abdullah ibn Ubay remained a Muslim legally. And Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam prayed at his funeral. Even he prayed for his funeral. He accepted him till his last as a Muslim, a legal Muslim. But he was the worst of the kuffar. No kafir among the mushrikeen of Makkah was the stronger enemy of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam than Abdullah ibn Ubay. He was the Rasul Munafiq. So this is the third and the final stage, the last stage. This is the point of no return. Now you can't go back. So this is actually the basis of nifaq, mostly. is to refrain and turn away from jihad. There can be no iman without jihad. What is jihad? First of all, you have to struggle against your own self to make it obedient to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And tujahid nafsaka fi ta'atillah. And you have to spend your money, your time, your energies, your intelligence to spread the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to propagate the ideology that Allah has given you through Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Then you have to establish the deen of Allah as a political, social, economic system, as a social order. And aqimu deen wa la tatafarraqu fi. And for that purpose, if you have to sacrifice your lives, you must be ready for that. Now this is jihad, the 3 stages. And I gave you 3 stages, 3 sub-stages at every stage. 3 by 3, 9 stages of jihad. And the final, the 9th is qital fi sabilillah. 8 are levels of jihad fi sabilillah. But if you don't want to go that way, you have accepted iman, no doubt. You think that whatever Muhammad is saying is correct. Yes, there is no God except Allah. I accept it. Well, it's correct. Quran seems to be the word of Allah, the real word. Yes, I accept it. There is also very logical that we will be resurrected and we shall be, rewarded in the hereafter. But when now it comes to the testing, Alif Lam Mim, Ahasib al-Nas wa yutraku an yaqulu amanna wa hum la yuftanun wa laqad fatanna alladhina min qablihim. Just as I recited the ayah, وَلَنَبْلُوَنَّكُمْ بِشَيْءٍ مِنَ الْخَوْفِ وَالْجُوعِ وَنَقْصٍ مِنَ الْأَمْوَالِ وَالْأَنفُسِ وَالثَّمَرَاتِ. We shall test you. You will have to pass these tests and tribulations. You will have to prove your mettle. You will have to prove that you really believe in Allah and the hereafter. And that is actually when you are put to test, then it will be clear whether you really believe or not. فَلَيَعْلَمَنَّ اللَّهُ الَّذِينَ صَدَقُوا وَلَيَعْلَمَنَّ الْكَاذِبِينَ وَلَيَعْلَمَنَّ اللَّهُ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَلَيَعْلَمَنَّ الْمُنَافِقِينَ. Whosoever now turns back and he retraces his steps, this is irtidad. Irtidad means going back. But one is legal irtidad. When one declares that I am no more a Muslim, it's legal irtidad. But irtidad manavi, batini, it is irtidad within. All the iman that you had has melted away like snow or ice. But you remain a legal Muslim because you are not declared, you are not declaring that you are no more a Muslim. This is the worst and the final form of Nifaq. Now what is the treatment of this disease? I told you preventive and then the curative. Preventive treatment is zikrullah. Remember Allah, remember Allah, remember Allah. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, the 3 ayat of the 2nd section of Surah Al-Munafiqun. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, la tulhikum amwalukum wa la auladukum an zikrillah. Wa man yaf'al dhalika fa ulaika humul khasirun. These things should not make you forget Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You should always remember Allah. That is, you have to renew your iman every time. What is this prayer? 5 times a prayer, 5 times a day. It is renewal of our iman. In every rakah, we recite Surah Al-Fatiha. What is it? Iman. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, Maliki Yawmiddin. And then we renew our covenant, our muahda, our promise, our agreement that we have made to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ اهْدِنَا الصِّرَاطَ الْمُسْتَقِيمَ صِرَاطَ الَّذِينَ أَنْعَمْتَ عَلَيْهِمْ غَيْرِ الْمَغْضُوبِ عَلَيْهِمْ وَلَا الضَّالِّينَ. Integral part of every rakah of our prayer. So actually, if you have iman, you have to keep it fresh through zikr. And the 2 topmost forms of zikr, you read Quran, recite Quran. And number 2, establish prayers. أُتْلُ مَا أُوحِيَ إِلَيْكَ مِنَ الْكِتَابِ وَأَقِمِ الصَّلَاةَ إِنَّ الصَّلَاةَ تَنْهَى عَنِ الْفَحْشَاءِ وَالْمُنكَرِ وَلَذِكْرُ اللَّهِ أَكْبَرُ وَاللَّهُ يَعْلَمُ مَا تَصْنَعُونَ. If you remember Allah, if you refresh your iman, if you are reviving your iman 5 times a day, if you are revitalizing your iman by standing in night before your Lord, فَتَهَجَّدْ بِهِ نَافِلَةً لَكَ, and you are reading Quran, tartil, وَرَتِّلِ الْقُرْآنَ تَرْتِيلًا. So you are hammering Quran into your personality, into your psyche. So that is the thing that will prevent nifaq. you will not be attacked by this disease. But if the infection has taken place, then what to do? And this is the beauty of Arabic language and Quran, for that matter, for the most. Treatment of nifaq is infaq. أنفقوا في سبيل الله وأنفقوا مما رزقناكم من قبل أن يأتي أحدكم الموت فيقول رب لولا أخرتني إلى أجل قريب فأصدق وأكن من الصالحين. Infaq. Spend. Because all the worldly loves, love of relatives and love of your buildings and love of your business and love of your wealth, a love of worldly life, if you boil it down, it comes to love for daulat, love for wealth. So you have to treat it, spend it for the cause of Allah, so that this love of wealth in your heart diminishes. So it is, as we call, ilaj bil misl. The same thing you have to do. Which is the cause? Cause is love of wealth. Spend it for the cause of Allah. Give it away for the cause of Allah. And I quoted that ayah, يَسَلُونَكَ مَاذَا يُنْفِقُونَ قُلِ الْعَفْوَ. Whatsoever is surplus with you, give it away for the cause of Allah. Spend for the cause of Allah. This will purify your heart of the impurity of nifaq. Infaq is the treatment of nifaq. And here it is ifal, babul ifal, infaq. Nafaq, that was to save yourself. You are saving yourself in nafaq, that tunnel, to save your life. You dig those tunnels, you used to dig those tunnels to save your lives. If the enemy has entered from the gates, you can run away from the tunnel, by the tunnel. And nafaqa, that animal, that also saves itself by having 2 months of the hole that she or he has done for himself or herself. Now, but if ifal, the khassa, the speciality of ifal is salb al-ma'khaz. It's the opposite. As, for example, fulus, falas, this is money. Iflas, you don't have any money. It's the negative. In the same case, nafaq, to save, infaq, to spend. Give it away. This the couplet which I quoted from Iqbal. Tu bacha ke na rakhi the, tera aina hai wo aina, ke shikasta ho to aziz tar hai nigahe aina saath. This saving your money, accumulating wealth, and then أموال اقترفتموها وتجارة تخشون كسادها ومساكن ترضونها. These 3 forms of wealth, آباؤكم وأبناؤكم وإخوانكم وأزواجكم وعشيرتكم, 5 closest relations. If the love for these 8 things is more than the love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His messenger and jihad for His cause, فَتَرَبَّصُوا حَتَّى يَأْتِيَ اللَّهُ بِأَمْرِهِ وَاللَّهُ لَا يَهْدِي الْقَوْمَ الْفَاسِقِينَ. So here I end with this discussion of nifaq. This is actually the beginning of nifaq, is turning your back from jihad. Tapti rahe mujhko pukare, daman pakde chhaon ghaneri. That is why I had this sequence. First we discussed jihad, and to refrain from jihad, to turn away from jihad, to turn away from spending your money for the cause of Allah and your lives for the cause of Allah. That is the basis of nifaq, and it has these 3 stages. First of all, the pre-nifaq state, when iman has become da'if. And when a person is weak, his defense mechanism is weak, then infection takes place. If you are strong enough, the bacteria are there, but they can't do any harm to you. But when the resistance has broken, then they invade you. So when iman becomes da'if, but it is da'if iman so long as you are accepting your shortcomings, and you are also, you want to be forgiven. You go to the prophets, those people went to Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, please forgive us, and do istighfar for us from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is not nifaq. It is only weakness of iman. But when they started making lame excuses, lying to be exempted, it started nifaq. When they were swearing and all wrong things, it became the second stage. And when there was enmity, why these people, they have become fanatics, and they have made us apparent that we are cowards, or we are not doing what we should do, then actually this has reached the third stage. I Pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He saves us from this nifaq. He gives us the courage to fix our priorities. Priority number one is Allah. Priority number one is to make jihad for the cause of Allah. मैं इसीलिए मुसलमान, मैं इसीलिए नमाजी, मेरी जिंदगी का मकसद तेरे दीन की सरफराजी. This should be the sole aim before every Muslim. I have to live to make the deen of Allah supreme, to establish the deen of Allah as a social order in this world. Now, because this is the end of a 10-day series of lectures, I want to make a brief review. What was the sequence? What we have discussed? As you must be remembering, actually I intended only to spend 2 days for the discussion on Iman. But then I had to take 3 days, 6 sessions, 6 hours on Iman. This is the most fundamental thing. The whole structure stands on Iman. This is the foundation over which the whole building is standing. And we have been ignoring this Iman. We don't feel that it is very important to discuss it. As if it is there, it is taken for granted that we have it. My diagnosis was, which I made about 30 years back, that where we are lacking is this place. We have a creed, a racial creed. It's Aqidah. This Aqidah we have borrowed from our parents. That conviction is not there. And unless that conviction is there, actually our conditions will never change. We will be going on saying what we are not practicing, making loud claims of Islam and Iman and love for Allah and love for the Prophet and doing nothing. That condition will continue so long as we don't have the real Iman. That is why I discussed Iman at length in 6 hours. Then I took 2 hours in shirk. Because if you boil down Iman into one word, it is Tawheed. Our deen is deen of Tawheed. And I told you, any good, any virtue, whether it is of action or of thought, it is necessarily a corollary of Tawheed. Every evil, everything bad, whether of practice and action or of thinking or thought, it is necessarily a corollary of shirk. That is why I told you, I have 6 hours tapes on Haqiqat wa Aqsam Shirk in Urdu. But here I didn't have that time. I only gave 2 hours. But those of you who are interested in the subject, they should try to listen. They are only audio tapes, not video tapes. 6 hours for Haqiqat wa Aqsam Shirk. Then we discussed, because Iman is an ideology. Just as the edifice of communism, it was built on an ideology. The ideology was Marxism. Every ideology, what the name, it has a practical manifestation. First of all, that manifestation happens and appears in personalities, individuals. Then that ideology takes a collective form. It takes the form of a social order. It takes the form of a political, socio-economic system. So Islamic ideology, that is Iman, actually, this is the manifestation of that very ideology. The system of caliphate, the political system under caliphate, the economic system under caliphate, the social system under caliphate. What is this? This is actually the practical manifestation of that ideology whose collective title is Iman. That is why I took 4 days. 8 hours I have spoken about this. First of all, I gave you the glad tidings of the Prophet ﷺ, that the same system which he established in the Arabian Peninsula and which was extended in 24 years after the death from Oxus to Atlantic and from Yemen to Caucasian mountains. That system, Khilaf ala bin Hajj al-Nubuwah, will be re-established on this earth. And when it is going to be re-established again, then it will be global. It will be over the whole of the world. Inna Allah zawali al-ard, fara'aytu mashariqaha wa magharibaha, wa inna ummati sayablughu mulkuha ma'zui ali minha. I have given you the ahadith, and I explained them in detail. Then I told you, what is that Nizamul Khilafah? What are the fundamentals that cannot be changed? These are the roots. The tree has to stand on this root. If it is cut, if it has no connection with the root, then it is not a tree now. So it has to maintain its roots, its fundamentals. But it has to move with the movement of the time. Much water has flown down the river of time, and we have to see what ijtihad we have to make, what institutions that humanity has developed about state, about all constitutions, these things. Whatever is haram in these things has to be chopped off. But whatever is within the limits of the Sharia, whatever is mubah, we have to incorporate it and join with it the principles of the Khilafah that we found 1400 years ago. Now that I gave you in detail, and especially the political system, the constitutional structure, because that is the basis. Constitution decides how laws will be framed over here, how decisions will be taken over here. So once it is decided that no legislation can be done here repugnant to the Quran and the Sunnah, because sovereignty here belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. To people, there is no sovereignty. Whatever they have is vicegerency, although it is collective vicegerency. It has become collective after the institution of Wahi and institution of prophethood has having come to an end in the person of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The era of individual caliphate finished. Now it is the collective caliphate. So actually I gave you in detail that political structure, constitutional structure of Islamic State under caliphate. Because once this has been settled, then the ball will be set rolling, or everything will be decided. Whatever is permissible within the limits of the Sharia, take it. I gave you my own understanding that you take out three things from this system, the capitalistic system, it becomes Islamic system, as far as I have understood. There can be difference of interpretations, but once that state is established, that mechanism is there, then we can discuss and argue, and decisions will be taken. Whatever is correct will be adopted, whatever is halal will be adopted, whatever is haram will be left away. In the same way, the social order. Then I gave you, and that is the most practical part of my discussion these 10 days, and that is how to establish that system. That also I covered in two phases. Number one, first of all, absolute objectivity as far as possible, to understand what was the process of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. How did he accomplish this feat, this miraculous feat, which has no example in the whole history of mankind. One person starting as a caller, as a da'i, one person issuing a call, as a single person starting his mission, and within 20 years, he changed the whole of the system, individual as well as collective, of the whole Arabian Peninsula. There's no example. So how he accomplished it, how he succeeded, that is something to be studied in depth. We should fix our lenses, our microscopes on the seerah. And we have to try to read between the lines. We have to understand the philosophy of seerah, not only the events, but the underlying principles. What was the reason that for 12 long years at Makkah, the order of the day was, take all persecution without any retaliation? And then after Hijrah, the same Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the same Sahaba Kiram, and they have now swords, and they are fighting for the cause of Allah. Why this difference? Why this difference? That in the 6th year after Hijrah, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is making treaty with the Quraysh, with humiliation, apparently humiliation. When the blood of all the Sahaba Kiram was boiling. But the very next year, when the treaty was broken by the allies of the Quraysh, and the chief of the Quraysh has come over to Medina, he is requesting time and again, please ratify the treaty again, please make the treaty again, and he is refusing. This is apparent sort of distinction or conflict between these two things. These two things don't fit in with each other. Why that passive resistance? Why deceptive resistance? Why making treaty with humiliating terms? And why not making treaty now, even though the chief of the Quraysh is requesting? So actually, I wanted to use the word contradiction. It's apparently contradicting to each other, but it is not, because these are the different steps of a process, and we must understand those steps of the process of revolution. Then I discussed, where there is a real change in conditions, we have to make ijtihad. And that I told you. Now, an armed revolt in the Muslim countries is not feasible. What is feasible? Peaceful, determined, disciplined, demonstrations turning into agitation. Come on the roads, block the system. Stop giving taxes. But this step will be taken when you feel you are strong enough now. Enough number of people are with you. They are disciplined. They have been trained. They are accustomed to listening and obeying. And they are ready to lay down their lives. They won't run away when there is shooting, when there is firing. They won't run away when there is lathi charge. They won't run away on tear gas. They will stop there. That after laying down some lives have to be given. If the Prophet ﷺ had to give his own blood, and if hundreds of the Sahaba Kiram had to give their lives to establish the deen of Allah, now there can be no hope of establishing that Nizam al-Khilafah without giving your lives and without giving your blood. But it would be actually sort of a unilateral war, because you are not fighting, you are not firing. The example has been set here, and we should be, in that way, we should be thankful to the Iranian people. They have set an example that short of a armed revolt, only agitation, but laying down their lives in thousands, they made the king run away for his life. Do gazanu bi bil nasaki kuwe yaar mein. I don't agree with the other aspects of that revolution. I don't agree that it is a revolution. I don't agree. It was not a revolution. There was no dawah. There was no new organization made. There was no tarbiyah done. It was a political movement, just as the anti-Bhutto movement of Pakistan. It was an anti-Shah movement. All shades of opinion had joined hands. Even Tudeh was there, communist group. That was also there with this revolution. So actually it was a political movement against Shah. But one thing they have, demonstrated clearly, that without using arms, without, uprising in an armed revolt, simply unarmed, disciplined, determined agitation can turn the tide of the events, and it has turned. So that example they have given us, and as far as I have understood, that is the only way that we should adopt in the Muslim countries. Here in America, you have to go a very long way. If you have decided to settle here, well, alhamdulillah, this is also Allah's world. You should try here. But one thing, take it from me. Even if a Muslim is alone in any country, he has to adopt the way of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And he was alone when he started his mission. Was he in majority in Arabia when he started his mission? If you accept Muhammad as model, لَقَدْ قَالَ لَكُمْ فِي رَسُولِ اللَّهِ أُسْوَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ. If that is the uswa, then he was alone. He started his mission alone. You should start it. People live here. Human beings live here. If you can spend your time, if you can present this deen as a political socio-economic system, if you can prove that this is the only just order, if you can prove it, you can have people converted to Islam, and then they will accept Islam. So actually, you can start this mission over here also. I told you. I don't say that it can start from Muslim majority countries only. It may be, I told you, it's just possible that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala may give us a beating at the hands of some new non-Muslim nation, and then hand over the banner of Islam into the hands of that nation. Once it has happened in history. है आया फितना तातार के अफसाने से पासमा मिल गए काबे को सनम खाने से. Crores of Muslims killed and massacred, full land, full countries, devastated. The whole of Turkestan, the grand kingdom of Kharzam Shah, it was trampled and devastated like anything. The whole of Afghanistan, the whole of Iran, and most of the part of Iraq, devastation. But they conquered the Muslims, but Islam conquered them later on, and the banner of Islam we find in the hands of different tribes of that stock. The Turkane-Taimuri, establishing a kingdom in India. Turkane-Safavi, establishing a kingdom in Iran. Turkane-Seljuki, they had come earlier in the Middle East. And then the Ottoman Turks, Turkane-Osmani, they founded the great Ottoman Empire. They had the caliphate for 400 years with them. So history can repeat itself. Maybe we are beaten by some non-Muslim nation, and then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give them the banner of Islam. But we have to do our duty wherever we are. But if you see where is the feasibility more, Among the Muslim majority countries, I told you, the conditions in the Arab world are very bad because there are no civil rights, no rights of association, no rights of expression, dictatorships. What type of dictatorships? Despot kings and amirs. It's a very difficult, very difficult, very difficult. But not impossible. People are striving there. They are working there. No, but they should have the methodology of the Prophet ﷺ before them. But I told you, feasibility, as far as feasibility is concerned, I find that there are pointers in the hadith also. من المشرق يخرج ناس من المشرق يغطون للمهدي يعني سلطانه. This is the hadith in Sunan of Ibn Majah. يخرج من خراسان رايات سود لا يردها شيء حتى تنصب بإيليا. Black banners and standards will emerge from Khurasan, and nobody will be able to turn them back until they will be fixed in Elia. And Elia was the name of Jerusalem at the time of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because Hadrian, the Roman Empire, when he rebuilt Jerusalem, he changed its name to Elia. It was Jerusalem before, but in 70 years after of the Christian era, it was devastated like anything. Just as it was devastated by Nebuchadnezzar in the 6th century before Christ. In the same way, it was again devastated. The Temple of Solomon, which was demolished at that time, it has not been built up till now. And it is the aspiration of the Jews. They want to build it. And they will build it. I know it for sure. They are going to do it. That is why they say that nothing can be said about Jerusalem. You take Jericho, you have a self-rule in Jericho, okay, you have your Gaza, but no talks about Jerusalem. That's ours. And Tom Temple of Solomon is to them as Kaaba is to us. They have to build it. So a holocaust, a turmoil, tribulation, that is going to come to Middle East. May Allah help our Arab brethren over there. But in Pakistan at least, we have some civil rights. We can express our views. We can organize ourselves into parties. We can hold meetings. We can hold rallies. So long as we are peaceful, there is no check upon us, no limits upon us. So we must avail of that opportunity. So we are working over there. And then I spoke for 2 days, the last day, yesterday and today, about jihad, so that the same thing again becomes clear. The methodology of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we discussed the different levels of jihad under that heading also. But then to discuss it as a separate issue. What is jihad? What is the meaning of jihad? How is it the essential part of Iman? If there is no jihad, there is no Iman whatsoever. إِنَّمَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا بِاللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ ثُمَّ لَمْ يَرْتَابُوا وَجَاهَدُوا بِأَمْوَالِهِمْ وَأَنفُسِهِمْ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ. And then I told you what are the requisites of this jihad. At the lowest level, there is no need of any party. But if you keep company of people who are good people, who have real Iman, you will benefit. كُونُوا مَعَ الصَّادِقِينَ. At the second level of propagating the ideology of Islam, you can have institutions, you can have associations, you can have loose organizations. But at the level of establishing the deen of Allah, establishing the system of caliphate on earth, to bring about a revolution, you have to have a disciplined party, which should have the discipline, proverbial discipline of army. Listen and obey. And that is the basis of the bayat that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam took from the Sahaba. I told you in one of my previous lectures what I am doing for the last 30 years. Most part, I gave up my practice in 1970. 23 years I spent. I have not spent even a single second of mine to earn anything in this world. For 23 long years. I gave up my practice in 1970. And this is 1993. You want a full time. But the maximum time and energy was studying Quran and teaching Quran. Especially to the educated elite of our society. To make them understand. To urge them to learn Arabic and read for themselves with their own eyes. So that they shouldn't be like a blind man whose stick is in the hand of another person. He takes him anywhere he likes. Because if you are reading Quran with the help of a translation, you are blind yourself. Actually, your stick, like the stick of a blind man, is in the hands of the translator. He is telling you that Quran means this. If you know Arabic, now you are reading Quran with your own eyes. So actually, the couplet of Allama Iqbal, तेरे ज़मीर पे जब तक न हो नुज़ूल किताब, गिरह कुशा है न राज़ी न साहिब कश्शाफ. What to say of translations? Even Razi won't be able to inspire you. Even Kashaf will not be able to inspire you. Inspiration comes from direct communication of Quran. And that can only be when you learn Arabic to have a direct conversation and communication with Quran. Second thing, we have started Tanzeem Islami or Bay'ah. We have revived this institution of Bay'ah at the basis of a party. And we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He gave us the courage. It was not easy to say that we are starting an organization of Bay'ah. It was a dead institution. But dead for only this century. I've given you the whole history. For the 1300 years, full 1300 years, there was no basis of any sort of organization, whether of government or of irshad, or, of revolt against the wrong kings. Everything happened, and the revolt against the imperialism. Mehdi Sudani stood at the basis of Bay'ah. Sanusi in Libya, he started the movement on the basis of Bay'ah. Sayyid Ahmad Barelvi, rahimahullah, in India, started his movement of jihad on the basis of Bay'ah. So it was for 1300 years, it was the only basis of organization. But alas, we have left this basis. Now it has become alien to us. We sort of shiver at the word of Bay'ah. Bay'ah, how can we take Bay'ah? As if it is something, a very bitter pill to swallow. But we have started our new movement on that basis, Tanzeem Islami. Here also there is TINA, Tanzeem Islami North America. Whosoever wants to join, because in Tanzeem Islami, with Tanzeem Islami, we don't attach any word, Tanzeem Islami Pakistan, no, Tanzeem Islami. Every Muslim living anywhere, any part of the world, who agrees with me, my program, who has confidence in me, he can take Bay'ah on my hand, he can join me. He will be my colleague, and he will be working there where he is, because Islam knows no boundaries. But now, lately we have started, as the brother Ataur Rahman told you, this Khilafah movement, to reach out to the masses, to tell them what is Islam, what is the caliphate system, what it gives you, what are the rights of the people under the system of caliphate. It's not only a system of punishment, of chopping heads and stoning to death. No, it gives you, what it gives you, the rights, guarantee that all the basic needs of every human being will be fulfilled under this system of caliphate. So we have started that movement in the right earnest, and we are going to masses now at the grassroots level. And here in this, we call it Tehreek-e-Khilafat Pakistan. Because to establish Khilafat, we have to have our, forces gathered together at one place. It cannot emerge in the whole of the world at one time. Even Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam established it. During his lifetime, he established it in the Arabian Peninsula. After his death, it was extension of that revolution. The revolution of Muhammad was exported. But within his life, it was in the Arabian Peninsula. So with Tehreek we have Tehreek-e-Khilafat Pakistan. But you can be muawin everywhere, wherever you are. You can support us financially. You can come over to Pakistan for a month, for 2 weeks, to work there, to contact your kith and kin and relatives. And least of all, if you don't want to spend time, if you don't want to make bay'ah, if you don't want to even support financially, well, pray for us to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that He gives us the courage and sabr and the istiqamah and sabat, steadfastness, so that, and He keeps us on the right path. That will be a very big support, a very big help from you. And with this I end this 10 days series of lectures. I thank you all who have participated in it, and I thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala most of all that He gave me the courage to fulfill this program that I had chalked out. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين والمسلمات.